Hello and welcome back to week 4 of the Home Barista Bootcamp, and this week we are checking out how to pour those flat whites, lattes and cappuccinos. Now this is the 4th video in a 6-week series, so make sure you check out the other videos first, especially last week's on steaming milk, because if you don't know how to do that, then this episode won't really help you out. Anyway, let's get started on these basic milk coffees. So first of all, let's check out the similarities between the three. So all 3 coffees in a normal size cup or glass all have a single shot espresso base and topped up with milk. So they are going to be fairly similar in flavour, but there is a couple of things that might change the way they come across. Now the flat white and the latte are the most similar, with the main difference being the vessel that they're served in. So most of the time we have a latte served in a glass, whereas a flat white is served in a cup. Now if these two vessels are the same volume, then these two coffees basically taste exactly the same. But if, for example, the latte glass holds a little bit more liquid, then that will mean that your latte will taste a little bit milkier than the same size flat white. The other thing that can happen is with that taller, narrower glass, the surface area at the top is a lot less, and so that foam will kind of contract down, so you get a lot more dense foam at the top of your latte. Whereas with that flat white and that wider surface area, that froth will kind of seal in the crema, but you won't have a big lid of froth on that flat white, just about 1/2 centimetre. So when we're texturing the milk for a flat white or a latte, we do it exactly the same, but for the flat white we end up with about 1/2 centimetre, and the latte will end up with about 1 centimetre of froth. Whereas when we're texturing for our cappuccino, we want to purposefully add extra air into the milk so that we get that frothier top on the cappuccino. For the cappuccino, we're going to aim for about 1.5 centimetres of froth on there, which is really going to change the texture of the drink. And also in Australia, we cover it in chocolate, so that would change the flavour quite a bit as well. So let's get to pouring these coffees, and we're going to start off with the cappuccino because that's going to be the one that's a little bit different. Of course, when you're texturing the milk for this one, you want to add lots of air. So as the volume in your milk jug increases, you want to keep lowering your jug so you can add more and more air to that milk. So now we've got that frothy milk and we want to pour it in a way that gets all of that froth into the cup. So to do that, when we're pouring, we keep the spout very close to the cup, and that will create an angle where all that frothy milk will just fall in. Now when you're pouring your flat white or latte, it's a very similar technique. So when we're texturing, we want to add about 1/2 centimetre to 1 centimetre of volume. And once that's done, remember to put the steam tip back below the surface of the milk so we don't add any extra air. When it comes time to pouring the flat white or a latte, you want to pour from a little bit more of a height so that frothy milk doesn't appear on the surface of the crema. The other thing we want to do is pour into the centre of the espresso shot so we lock that crema in and get a nice surface of crema on top. You can see here if I pour on the edge of that espresso, the crema just splashes around, and then we're going to get a really average looking surface on top. But if we pour nice and carefully, we can keep that crema on the surface. That froth will kind of pierce below the crema, and as it floats to the top, it'll lock that crema in. And once that crema is locked in, you can just keep pouring that all the way to the top, but just make sure you keep that jug height about 3 or 4 centimetres from that crema. So if you're a good student, you've probably figured out how we might go about pouring some latte art. Because you may have noticed that if you pour from a height, then the froth disappears underneath, and if you pour close to the crema, the white will appear on top. So if you're going to try and pour some latte art, this is what you'll do. Start off pouring the way you would for a flat white or latte by setting that crema. And when the cup is 3/4 of the way through, we're going to move the spout of that jug really close to the crema, and we'll see a white bulb forming on top. From here, how you move that jug around is going to affect the pattern that you pour. But for now, we're just going to let that bulb form, and then as the cup fills, we're going to lift up and pull through to create a heart. Now I asked you guys on my Instagram whether you'd be interested in a 6-week latte art course with some updated tutorials, and literally all of you said yes. So as soon as this bootcamp finishes, we're going to do a 6-week latte art bootcamp. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you click that subscribe button so you'll be the first to see the new bootcamp as it comes out. But hopefully now you have much more of an insight about those 3 different milk coffees and how to actually pour them. The next week of the bootcamp is a really important one. It's all about keeping your equipment clean, and that is so important if you want to make consistently good coffee. And then the final week of the bootcamp is going to be feedback or troubleshooting from all of your questions and comments. So if there's been something that you haven't quite figured out yet, or if you're still having trouble with, make sure you put your questions in the comments below, and then you'll see the answers in week 6. And remember, if you're really enjoying this bootcamp and you're getting heaps out of it, the best way to support me is to buy your beans through me. You can do that using the discount code if you haven't already, or you can grab a subscription and get some free samples to try out all of my coffees. Anyway, thanks again for all your support, and we'll see you next week for maintenance. Keep frothing.